All right, man, peace. So, in light of the mega trade involving the Cleveland Cavaliers, in an attempt to assist LeBron James and galvanize his spirit, most likely at the insistence of Mr. Adam Silver, in which they pushed and prodded Dan Gilbert and his GM, Kobe Altman, to make the trade that was needed to help their marquee star. The Cleveland Cavaliers had a phenomenal showing against the Boston Celtics, which has forced many in the mainstream liberal sports media to ask the question, are the Cleveland Cavaliers the clear favorite to come out of the East? I've maintained throughout the season that the Cavaliers were my favorite even before the trade. Just because when you have a player like a LeBron James, until I see him lose 4 times to a team in the East, I'm going to pick him. Because that is normally the rule in basketball, that the team with the best player or 2 out of the top 3 best players is going to win a 7-game series. Now, in light of this trade, in which he's been able to attain personnel more to his style of play, I would raise their percentage to about 80%. Anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Who needs time to gel? Just 4 days ago, Cleveland traded 6 players, got 4 from 3 different teams. The new look Cavs hot out of the gate, dominating the Celtics with a 22-point win and beating a top 5 team for the first time in 117 days. Our next guest, you might know him from the Will Kane Show, 3 to 6 Eastern, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Good day, my friend.
Good day.
I am going to start with you.
All right.
Are the Cavs a lock to win the East?
Absolutely not. I mean, I don't know how we can all reevaluate our lives after one game. This is a team that has been absolutely putrid against the best teams in the league. Has no winning record against teams over 500. First game, they've won against a, top 6, 7 team in the league. And one game, and we reset everything.
Let me say this. For the most part, I agree with Will Kane. I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers have to be evaluated over the remainder of the season, how many games they have left, most likely somewhere around 30. It's very common for a team that has a big trade, especially when you have a superstar like LeBron James, to rake the first team that they face over the coals, especially since it takes a while for the teams around the NBA to develop an efficient scouting report in order to discern and decipher exactly what you're trying to do on offense with that new personnel. So they pretty much caught Boston at the right time. Boston has been struggling recently. They've pretty much been a little bit over 500 over their last 30-plus games. And I think that they're a little bit tired. Many of these teams are just looking for the All-Star break. It'll be interesting to see how they look when they start to struggle. Because LeBron James is renowned for bailing on his teammates whenever they start to struggle. As I tell you brothers all the time on this channel, loyalty is something that's in your DNA. You either have it or you don't. And LeBron James is not a loyal person. He is someone who is going to bail when he sees any form of adversity. Now, many brothers like to rake him over the coals because of that fact. But in the NBA, understand that it is a business. I don't begrudge him his ability to move around. But when we are evaluating him, it is a character flaw that in times of adversity, he does tend to fold up. But do I believe that he owes a team or a franchise loyalty? No, I don't. No, I do not. But it is what it is.
I understand they got a bunch of new players. I understand they got 4 new guys. And I heard you earlier, Max. I like how you kind of laid out, LeBron's a 5-star guy. Kyrie's a 4.5, 5-star guy. And you go on down. And I like Rodney Hood, and I like George Hill, and this team is undoubtedly better than the one they fielded before the trade deadline. But you cannot just say the slate is wiped clean, and because we seem to have gotten rid of our old bad baggage, we're suddenly all better than, not just Boston. Let's not just take yesterday into account. Yesterday was impressive. That was a nice start. By the way, it's a start. It's one game in a slog. 2.5 months to go. And then, of course, we know the playoffs are a whole different animal. But let's not forget Toronto. I know we want to wipe Toronto away every year because there's hype during the regular season.
Do it themselves.
Yeah, I know, Max. But
I agree with Max. Until further notice, Toronto is not someone that I take seriously. I don't particularly care about how they look in the regular season. They have to show me. To me, they're the Eastern Conference version of the Houston Rockets. The Rockets have a totally new cast of characters other than James Harden and a couple of other players, Capella, Ariza, etc. Of course, they brought in Chris Paul, who has totally changed their dynamic, but they have to show me in the playoffs. Toronto has to show me in the playoffs that they deserve an increased level of respect. Cleveland is my clear favorite. I think that Boston is a little bit outgunned to get to the finals. I would love to see them get to the finals because I think that they would give Golden State a better fight than Cleveland. But with this new roster, who knows? Maybe Cleveland will give Golden State a very good fight. They do have, in my view, the best player in the NBA. And they have shooters and they have young athletes now. So we'll find out. I would still give Golden State probably about a 70 to 75% chance of beating Cleveland in the finals. But that's more than I would have given Cleveland before they made that trade.
But they look different this year. They look good this year. And I don't think that just because the Cleveland Cavaliers suddenly have a clean slate, you can call them a lock by any stretch. I'm not even sure they're the favorites.
Here's the problem with your argument. You're implying that we made this decision because of yesterday's game. My point to you is that from the moment the deal was made, everybody had that attitude about the Cavs.
Well, then you were even more premature.
No, not necessarily, because here's the deal. When you look at a team that has the best player in the world, and you have four guys who are younger, longer, more athletic, and devoid of drama, what were we lamenting about the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Agreed. The onus that was placed on Cleveland was that they were going to have a hard road to hoe because they had terrible chemistry, no synergy, and old players. They showed a disinterest in playing defense, particularly if they had to guard their man one-on-one. They certainly did not want to help their teammates, which was a sign that they did not like each other. At the very least, this new cast of characters that LeBron has been teamed with is akin to a rebound. He was with the old girl. The old girl, according to him, wasn't doing what she was supposed to do, so now he's with the rebound chick. He doesn't know how much he's going to like the rebound chick in a month, but right now, she's getting the job done.
We were lamenting the youth or lack thereof. We were lamenting the drama, okay? The absence of athleticism, the robotic tendencies that they exuded. These are the kind of things that you don't have to worry about with the younger guy.
And I told you guys that they were going to get rid of Jordan Clarkson. I told you guys that he did not fit in with the Lakers. I could sense a spirit of negativity between him towards Alonzo Ball, or between him and Alonzo Ball, I should say. There was a level of jealousy that I saw from him towards Alonzo Ball, as well as Julius Randle, who from what I understand, they were trying to trade. So I can see a lot of these things. It's not too difficult to discern. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to try to move Julius Randle at the end of this season if he's not a free agent.
Guys, and so by virtue of that...
Look at LeBron, 35-year-old kid.
That you deduce from it that all they have to do is their jobs and that the king will carry you to the promised land. When you look at Toronto, we have to see DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry produce in the postseason.
And you know why LeBron was acting like that, right? Because he saw that Jordan Clarkson was mocking Paul Pierce.
That's the bottom line. That's what it comes down to. If DeMar DeRozan were a big man that wasn't defended by LeBron, that would be different. But when you got a guy that's playing basically the same position, that's able to put you on lock and key, that really makes you struggle shooting from the perimeter, which the Cleveland Cavaliers made DeRozan do last year, you got an issue. When you look at Kyle Lowry, suddenly come playoff time, when there's no back-to-backs, and you've got a 7-game series, and days in between are prepared, suddenly that undersized factor, because he is relatively a miniature point guard, that's counted against him. We look at Ibaka and Valanciunas. We know that they can play. But what are you expecting them, particularly when perimeter shooting is at a premium come playoff time? You're not expecting but so much from them. We look at the Washington Wizards. We don't believe in them, regardless of how much they're winning without John Wall.
I'm not even concerned about the Washington Wizards. That team may be about to be blown up. They're the Eastern Conference version of the Portland Trail Blazers. They have a very good backcourt in regards to talent, but neither one of their guards are good in the clutch. Bradley Beal is a terrible shooter in the clutch, and it's even more glaring with him because at least with John Wall, you can say, well, John Wall is not a good shooter at any point in the game. Bradley Beal is the guy who knocks down all these mid-range and long-range jumpers throughout the game, and then down the stretch, in the clutch time, in the crunch moments, he's always throwing up bricks. That motherfucker could build a pyramid with all them bricks he throws up in the last 2 minutes of a close game.
And he should be concerned about that, by the way. The bottom line is that the Washington Wizards didn't do anything Come trading deadline, you don't expect much from them. And Boston is devoid of the kind of depth that can deal with the personnel that the Cleveland Cavaliers now have at their disposal.
Look, I like Boston. I love Kyrie. They're going to have to consider trading one of those young pieces. I tried to hold out, but after what I saw yesterday, they may have to move Tatum. Okay? They may have to move Tatum. They may have to package him for Anthony Davis. Because right now, especially with Gordon Hayward, hopefully for them coming back either at the end of this season or next season, they're going to have to move Tatum because they have to get a skilled big man. Greg Monroe is not going to get the job done. Not if you want to win a championship. They have to find a way to see if they can get Anthony Davis, maybe package Tatum, a first-round draft pick, and Aaron Baines to New Orleans, and maybe get a third team involved, and they can get another draft pick from that third team or another player, and see if you can get Anthony Davis. Because as currently constituted, they're not going to win a championship.
If you guys just look at my rating system, you'll find it works. Good for you, Will, for noticing that you like the rating system. If you take a 5-star player as meaning an MVP caliber player, well, in that case, LeBron's 6 stars. He's
different than Kyrie. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd say he's different than everyone, but okay, he's different.
Well, Kyrie is not a 5-star player. If you're going to go by Max's rating system and say 5-star player meaning MVP caliber, then yes, you'd have LeBron, KD, Steph, and Kawhi. Those are the 5-star players.
He's different than anyone in the East. Let's for the sake of argument now. He's just fundamentally a different thing.
You can see that many of these, particularly these Caucasian sports analysts, they are so enamored with LeBron. And I mentioned this also in regards to Mr. Skip Bayless. They wish that they could put their brain inside of his body. Get out style. Believe me. They wish that they could put his brain or their brain inside of his body.
It takes to beat LeBron, another team. And by the way, usually throughout the course of history, it takes to win a championship a team with 2 5-star players, or else 1 5-star player and 2 or 3 4-star players, right? That's if Gordon Hayward was healthy right now, and the Celtics had this whole team, and Tatum somehow magically got these minutes, and so he developed it, and everything was okay. Even then, I'd probably take the Cavs, but okay, now it's getting. Think of how seldom in history of just perfectly well-balanced team with a lot of very good players, like the Detroit Pistons in 04, ever win a championship.
Yeah, that was a blip. But the thing with the Detroit Pistons in 04, they were that rare team who, they overall in total were greater than the sum of their parts. They had a lot of good players, a lot of all-star level players, borderline great players. Chauncey Billups was one of the great leaders at point guard of the last 15 plus years. He was phenomenal. And I remember when he was drafted in 96, I would never have thought that he would become the player that he was by 2002, 03, and then of course winning the championship in 04, and they should have won in 05. I think that they got a little bit ahead of themselves, their arrogance, and that wild card factor with Rasheed Wallace. Those players always cost you at least one championship if you do not have a dominant player on your team. Just like Draymond cost Golden State that one championship, Rasheed Wallace cost them a title in 05. Because he was so caught up in the referees, he missed his defensive assignment, and Robert Horry got open. He cost them a title.
Or even get to the finals. LeBron James plus Kevin Love, by the way. He does have Kevin Love coming back, who's a 4-star player, and a bunch of 3.
No, sir. No, sir. Kevin Love is not a 4-star player. I will give him maybe 3.5. To be a 4-star player, you have to at least be able to lead your team to 8 playoffs. Like, you can't make an 8 seed at a 4-star. Nah. Anthony Davis led his team to a playoffs. It takes a lot to be considered a 4. Like, DeMarcus Cousins, this was the first year that I would have called him a 4-star player. Because he would have made the playoffs this year. Like, he showed a great deal of growth as a player.
Threes, you need something more than what the Celtics have. The Raptors' problem is if DeRozan is now a 4.5-star player, Kyle Lowry is really a 4-star player.
DeRozan not no 4.5. DeRozan is 4. 4.5 is like James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kyrie. Those are your 4.5. Anthony Davis. Those are your 4.5-star players. 4-star players, I give that to DeRozan. DeRozan, Boogie Cousins, those guys.
He's meaning an all-star. He's not an MVP. He's not the
But
talent.
that's your top. That gives you two. You talked about you need two. I mean, the Raptors do have the two.
They have a 5 and a 4.5, and they have a bunch of 4, maybe another 4, maybe. The Raptors are really good.
This guy's fucking up on his own rating system. How the hell can DeMar DeRozan be a 5-star player? Are you kidding me?
They lack the top-end talent. In high-leverage playoff games, the history of the NBA is if you give Michael Jordan a crew, or Magic Johnson a crew, or Larry Bird a crew, or LeBron James a crew that works, boy, you better have a whole lot to take them out. What it takes is someone like the Sixers. Oh, we have Dr. J. Maurice Cheeks. Oh, and we got Moses Malone. Okay, now maybe we could do something. Or it takes Jordan's retirement for Hakeem to do something, and then he needs Clyde Drexler to help him out to repeat. Boston doesn't have that. They have Kyrie Irving and a bunch of good pieces.
Okay, two sides to this equation. There's everybody else, and then there's the Cavs. First, on the everybody else argument. We're not incredibly far apart. The only reason I'm not sitting here today saying the Boston Celtics are the overwhelming favorite to win the East is because Gordon Hayward is gone. That with Kyrie, there's a drop-off from Kyrie to Al Horford. But
I agree with that. Kyrie is 4.5. Al Horford, I would give around that 3.5 range. I will put Al Horford equivalent to Kevin Love. Kevin Love was a guy who put up a lot of big stats in Minnesota, but his stats were not proficient, and that's why his teams never made the playoffs. Al Horford, as far as impact, is right there with Kevin Love. I would also put Al Horford around that same area with a Blake Griffin. He's around 3.5.
But Max, from 3, 4, 5, I like the Celtics way better than I like what I see on the Cavs. Tatum, Brown, Rozier, I like that better than everything the Cavs just got.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is with that? Boston's going to have to play hard-nosed defense for 48 minutes to have a chance to beat Cleveland. And Kyrie is going to have to nullify LeBron. And I don't know if Kyrie can do that, especially with all the guys that they're going to be sending at Kyrie defensively. They're going to have Clarkson on Kyrie. They're going to have Hill on Kyrie. They're going to have a lot of different guys spelling LeBron. They're going to even have the Turkish dude, Jetty, on Kyrie. And then every once in a while, LeBron will try to guard Kyrie and get J'd up like he did in the game on Sunday when Kyrie crossed him behind his back and pulled up in his face.
Yeah, we'll see about the Raptors. They're the big question mark in the equation. But the other side, now the flip side is to you, what you said, the Cavs. Stephen A., just because the bad team is gone doesn't make the new team good. We think they might be good. You said we knew it before they even hit the floor.
Well, right now they're in the honeymoon phase, Wolcane. They're in the honeymoon phase. They love each other. They're happy. Let's see what happens when they hit a little affliction. I want to see what happens when they lose about 3 or 4 in a row.
You saw it on trade deadline.
That's how
day.
bad they were defensively.
Yeah, but all we did there is recognize the bad team is gone. We still don't know how good this new team can be.
Agreed. I look at these guys with LeBron now, these new guys, almost like a prostitute. They're willing to do whatever you want as long as they're getting their money. I want to see how these guys start to act when they lose 4 in a row and LeBron lets his bitch tendencies come out. Do they say, fuck this dude, we leaving at the end of the season anyway? Or do they batten down the hatches and try to win? We'll see.
And the fact of the matter is, outside of George Hill, none of these new acquisitions have any real playoff experience. We don't know what any of these guys are going to be like under the gun when, by the way, the gun is not only the competitor, but your king, LeBron James, looking over at you going, why aren't you doing your job?
Let me respond.
Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Will Kane. That's what we're going to find out what the mettle of this team is. When they face adversity and they have to deal with this man and his bitch energy. And let me please specify, there is certainly a separation between a leader of a team calling out his help, the subsidiary components of the team, as opposed to what LeBron oftentimes degenerates to, which is causing confusion in the locker room because he has a hard time dealing with adversity. Everything has to go his way. Thank goodness for him that he's bigger and stronger than everyone. Because if he was Kyrie's stature or God forbid, Isaiah Thomas's stature, he'd probably have a mental breakdown.
Respond to you with that. First of all, in George Hill, you know what you're getting, which you acknowledge. Secondly, in Rodney Hood, he's 6'8". And so because he's a 6'8 guy who can defend on the wing, that matters. Third, a Jordan Clarkson and a Larry Nance. The combination of them with Rodney Hood, all 25 years of age. You got youth, you got fresh legs, which was a problem for the team with the guys that you traded away because a lot of them were age old and what have you.
Yeah, a lot of them were not using the PEDs that LeBron was using, those that top-notch shit that LeBron has pumping through his veins, allegedly.
So when we're talking about it, the reason why we can make an assumption, which is relatively easy to make, if it were offensively, it would be different. It's the fact that we're talking defensively. We're talking about guys doing their jobs. We're talking about guys exhibiting effort. That's really what you're looking for and nothing else.
Well, let me say this. I do expect them to play better defense. It's kind of difficult to be any worse than they were prior to the trade. But Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr., Rodney Hood are not players that are known for their defense. So we'll see how long that lasts. Oftentimes, whatever people's habits are what they oftentimes will end up reverting back to. So we'll see. I think that the trade, the experiment in Cleveland is going to go very well for a while. And then after a while, LeBron is going to get frustrated with his young team's inability to perform under pressure. It's going to make him look bad. But before he allows it to make him look bad, you'll hear him start putting forth a lot of rhetoric into the mainstream liberal sports media about, well, you know, these young kids, it may take a while. I'm going to have to teach them and build them up. He'll be preparing himself verbally to lose, particularly if he sees that many of his young wards are not built to be successful in the playoffs.
In terms of the Cavaliers' offense,
and he'll also be setting up excuses for himself.
They'll be even better when Kevin Love gets back. He wasn't there yesterday. And so you got a guy that can spread the floor. These guys had the floor spread, and they were hitting open shots without Kevin Love. So they'll damn sure do it with them. Defensively was the question, which is why it was so easy for all of us to say they're instantly better, because you knew from the young bodies the activity that they put on display night in and night out, that they would give you more defensively than what you had seen.
But you keep comparing that to who they were, man, and who they were was awful.
Yeah.
Look, as individuals, Rodney Hood has never been any great shakes on defense. George Hill's all right, but getting old. And defense is a team concept.
George Hill is better than all right.
But listen, defense is a team concept.
But Rodney Hood is the key
out.
player here. Hood is the key player because what the Cavs now lack, I don't think Clarkson qualifies. Clarkson is a second unit kind of player. He and Nance have experience playing together. That should be good. Fresh legs late in games a lot of times is better than stars late in games on tired legs. So that should be good for the energy in the defense and the offense in the second unit. But Rodney Hood is the key because he's not, I agree with you, Will, he's really not a good defender. He's not a terrible defender, but given his frame and ability, he should be better, and so he has upside, but he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, well, you know what? By the time a player is 25 years old, in this NBA, he pretty much is what he is. They don't really have defensive players on their team. LeBron is going to be the only one who'll act like he's playing defense in stretches, as well as George Hill. These other players, they're going to give a lot of effort early. After they lose their first game, that's when we're going to see what they're made of. Fortunately for them, they're in the East, so most of the teams that they play, they'll have more talent then.
And while he's a streaky shooter, he can shoot, and he can do things offensively. He's not a get-your-own-shot kind of guy, really.
Yeah, but they don't really need that right now. Clarkson can get his own shot. He can break people down off the dribble, go to the basket. They need shooters with length. So Hood is certainly a good match for LeBron.
So he in Cleveland. He may be the key to that because you really would like one other guy in the starting unit to do that. But Stephen A., I think about them going small even. You could play LeBron. If it was Kevin Love at the 5, LeBron could kind of be your point center because George Hill can bring the ball up the floor. He and LeBron.
LeBron wants the ball in his hands most of the time, which is what some people complain about.
The point is,
absolutely, that's what they complain about because that's what it is. LeBron is not even going to want Hill to bring the ball up. Believe me. If he does, he'll allow him to bring it just past half court, and then he'll take the ball from him. LeBron has to have the basketball. If he doesn't have the basketball, he starts to freak out.
The point is, there is no really 1 through 5 anymore, right? Like, it's positionless basketball. If you tell me that you have George Hill and J.R. Smith and Rodney Hood and Kevin Love and LeBron James out on the floor at one time, that's a kind of small ball lineup people would have to deal with. Like, they're much more versatile and energetic now, and you're underestimating the addition by subtraction, I think.
Yeah, but what really are you trying to say, Max? Are they championship quality or are they not? Because if they're not championship quality, you're just talking a whole bunch of shit for nothing.
How bad they look because of the bad apples.
I'm not underestimating it. I'm telling you this. You said this line and you're in...
Yeah, well, were the players that were there the bad apples, or was LeBron the bad apple? I mean, you let me know. Maybe he's the bad apple. And the reason why he has to get rid of all these teammates is because they're nibbling off of his apple and they start to get sick. They need to bring in new eaters of his apple.
Soliloquy right there, if I borrow your phrase. You said, regarding Rodney Hood, he has upside, but he hasn't done it yet. That's for this entire Cavaliers team now. It's ups. You like it on paper. One game, and we're all going to say this one game doesn't define thing against the Boston Celtics. It has upside, but they haven't done it yet. And the only team, and I asked our friend Evan back there, the only team to trade 6 guys at the trade deadline before was the Cavs in 06-07, and they lost in the second round.
Well, you're thinking about 07-08, not 06-07. In 06-07, they went to the finals. In 07-08, they lost in the second round to the Boston Celtics in 7 games.
This is a massive
More productive players at multiple positions. They went on from being joint favorites to win the East with the Raptors to the odds-on favorites.
He is saying that they're unproven. He's not realizing there's no one else in the East that is proven.
No, and LeBron had no one. And LeBron had no one like Kevin Love in 06. So.
Right, but I think that Will is looking at it more from an overall perspective, and I also think that he's not going to put all his chips on the Cavaliers off of one game, even to come out of the East, which I don't blame him. But just looking at LeBron's experience, I thought that they were going to come out of the East even if they kept their old squad intact. They would have found a way to work their way through it, I believe. But who knows? They certainly made the right decision by getting rid of the quote-unquote dead weight, a lot of the older players who were done with LeBron's bullshit. You notice that the players that they kept are all the players that are signed to his compatriot Rich Paul's Clutch Sports. So it's always about commerce.
07. No one liked Love.
Will, thank you kindly. Still to come, Johnny Manziel telling us things he's...
Oh, shit, I see you, Will Kane. Looking at Molly like she's a steak. Jalen, you better watch that. Let me rewind that real quick.
He's never...
LeBron had no one like
Look at how Will Kane look at Molly.
Kevin Love in 06-07. No one liked Love.
Will, thank you kindly. Still to come, Johnny Manziel telling us things he's never...
I see you. I saw that shit. Jalen, you better come get your woman. Come get your woman. Something going on at First Take, bro. Anyway, peace.